I hit record. I am recording now. Sorry. So you see yourself. Sorry, I apologize.
No, thank you. So to what you said about being intentional and hippie-ish, I I've really been like I see it visually as kind of like a line of balance and me kind of going maybe like an ocean almost in like the ocean line of like the top of the water, and it's like I'm a dolphin. It's like I'm in the air and then I'm underneath the water, and it's like this constant kind of up and down, and really kind of to what you said about being in the middle. I think that's like right now I'm finding I'm working towards every day finding that balance of being the middle. And it does come with what I thought of myself as is kind of like I'm just like a perpetual optimist. I don't know how to live any other way. I think I maybe I have to do that um because if I wasn't, I would be like crazy depressed, or I would be having an existential crisis like every moment of my life. Like when I was 22 and 3, every time I had my period, I had an existential crisis. Like I
Oh,
wasn't like, hormonal and like grumpy or bitchy. I was like, I'm a soul in a body. What is that? We're in the middle of space. How do I cope with that? Every month.
oh my
That's like what the
goodness.
hormones would do. That's where I took it, I know. And it was really it was hard because there's no answers to get you out of that necessarily. And I really had to just kind of, I don't know, get through it, I guess, and realize that it doesn't matter because I'm here and it's okay not to know. Um,
Oh,
but like I said, I think that hippie-ishness comes from that. Like I can never let go of that, At the end of the day, no matter what's going on, I can get caught up in it. Sure, like anybody else, but at the end of the day, no matter what's going on, it's like I'm coming from this foundation of nobody knows what's happening here. Nobody knows why we're here, what we're doing here, where we are. Um, and it's kind of like I can either let that destroy me or use it in an optimistic sense of like, well, if I don't have the answers, they don't have to be wrong or bad. It doesn't have to be negative or scary. The unknown can be scary, but I'm working towards really befriending the idea of uh, if the unknown is unknown, then it can be marvelous, and trusting in
I
that.
love that. Befriending the idea. That is a great term. Holy moly.
Thank you.
I'm writing that down. Befriending the idea. Because that's really what it is. It's not embracing because I mean, I want to embrace the idea sometimes with a fist, because I'm like, dude, but befriending it and almost being like, okay, yeah, because that's what I have to do to an extent to get to the middle ground. And I love the analogy of the ocean. It's sometimes it's calm, sometimes it's not. Sometimes I'm really, really wet and I'm spitting out stuff, and sometimes I'm like, man, the sun's gorgeous out here. What is this? Is a beautiful day.
Yeah.
Um, and I like because that brings me part of the reason why I'm doing these is the first one happened because I wanted to interview this person who I'd never met in person really. I had heard about he had a gym that was successful and a lot of people talked about him in a good way, but I really felt God directed me to talk to him. And it's a lot of times I always get weird saying that because I'm like, no, I didn't hear dude sit down next to me and say, go interview this guy.
Sure.
Listen, that would be easier.
Yeah.
Way easier. I'm sure I hear voices, but at least if it was like audible, I could say it's not my internal. I can tell you that much because, um, but I wanted to know, well, what if? But in a positive. I befriended the idea. I love that you gave me a term for it. I befriended the idea of what if in a positive light instead of, well, what if this happens? Well, what if this happens? What if something good happens? What if I try something
Right.
and I don't fail? It's like it was always because what I was never truly living. What I talked to Estefania about was basically my frequency. I'm usually pretty close around my frequency. I know that because that's why I've been sober for 30 years. Because before I was sober, I was not around my frequency. Some points in my sobriety, I have not been around my frequency. Since I've had kids, especially, I've been more aware of my frequency because I understand that the impact it has on others.
Mm,
Not always great with it. I One of my favorite things about me is that both my kids know immediately I will apologize often.
I love that phrase. One of my favorite things about me. But you never hear anybody say that.
Well,
That's
I mean, I have lots of things that I like about myself, but that is one of my favorite is that I want to be a good dad. Now, unpacking that is a lot more than we have time for. I mean, your kid's going to be 16 soon, but that's how long it would take to unpack that. But me wanting to be a good dad, being involved and just being as supportive and loving. I had to break it down to, okay, so what does being a good dad mean? It really means being loving and what I view as loving. Does that change sometimes? Sometimes it does. Like there's the little stuff and well, do I go strict here and not strict here and this and that? Okay, you know what? Blech. Like that's minutia stuff that is a distraction from the real. Like
mm,
I liked what you said was I want to see myself in these roles. And I loved how you put it. Like, what are these roles now? Because there's roles. I'm a woman, I'm a mom, I'm, a partner, I'm, all these things. And you're like, whoo, okay, if I wasn't a juggler before, like, high plates, let's spin them. And what I do is, I told my kids, I'm going to apologize as often as I can when I pay attention that I've not been who I treated you how I felt towards you. And
mm.
so now it's weird because I encourage my kids to point out when I'm not acting like they know how I feel towards them. And one of the easiest ways they'll do it now is, and it's got to be scary for a kid because you're like, strange dynamic. My dad wants me to say something, like he's being angry and
You
loud.
definitely.
Tells me he doesn't like when he's angry and loud. So I pointed out to him what's going to happen. For a moment or two, I'll be more angry and loud, and so a lot of times what they'll do is they'll go,
I do.
"Oh, you a little crabby, you little butthole Betty today." Like so, we're allowed to use that. We're allowed to use butthole Betty. We're allowed to use Krabby Patterson, like all this stuff, because then it clicks. Because my sense of humor overrides most things in my head. So then I'm like,
Wow.
okay, that's funny, and you're probably right.
Okay, good one.
Good one.
Wow, I love that. I can't wait
And
to
so
tell Nicholas
it's
that.
the permission of it. It kind of brings me back in,
Yeah.
and it gets me closer to that frequency. And so what I've been doing is with these interviews, I've been so blessed to be to have met and to have been impacted by such amazing people. And what I think and what I did, which was a disservice to myself, but also to other people, is if I haven't done anything grand or grandiose or huge that I
Yep.
think is impactful, then I'm not been impactful. And life is not about the huge. Life is about the
Yep.
everyday, the small. It is really the mosaic. Like I feel like I'm speaking in great tongues, but it's the mosaic of the everyday things. Um, that's why going to Florida and driving the kids to Florida, it wasn't really a vacation because the kids still had school. We pretty much, stayed on they got to swim when they wanted to and everything, which was awesome. Part of it was still cold, but so it was like, well, we're gonna swim when it's cold because at least we can swim, and
Yep.
the whole thing. But it was very much like I just really want to be in the moment, because those are what add up, and being in the moment of, hey, you guys, like Jacob has been talking about Jacksonville because he likes the show A Good Place. So it's always like Jacksonville, Jacksonville. And so we drove through Jacksonville. I'm like, hey, guess where we are? And he's like, ah,
Oh.
he might not remember anything else from the entire trip other than we took a trip once and then he was like, oh yeah, I saw Jacksonville and it wasn't really that impressive. But it was still, you know what I mean? Like that moment, I was aware of it,
Yeah.
not necessarily for my selfishness, but I was aware of it to be part of. And what I liked about you, like I told Rosie, is I've loved watching your friendship grow because
Mhm.
you, I was aware that you were having almost a push pull. I want to experience myself this way, but I'm kind of not wanting to, but I do want
Oh,
to,
yeah.
but it's scary.
Yeah.
And the same with, with Rosie, but you, of whatever myriad of reasons, your reasons, you were open to me about it and you were vulnerable with me about it. And I honor that. To me, that's such a blessing and such a gift for somebody to be vulnerable to me that I don't take it lightly. I don't ever want to mistreat it. I don't, and I definitely don't purposely do it. You know what I mean? Like I don't purposely ignore it or mistreat it or treat it poorly. So when I got to
Yeah.
when you were sharing with me, um, something simple like, well, they kind of want me to take this manager position, and I don't know if I should be a manager or do I want the manager position. And I was like, I didn't really, I was trying to be supportive without necessarily directing you, even though, in my opinion, I was like, dude, this would be awesome because you are awesome and I like you, and anything you touch that you put your mind to is going to be amazing. And I just like kind of how, Rosie put it, which was, girl, you're a badass. Whatever you want to do, you're going to be good. And I was like, yes, what she said, and to
She,
see
she's the
you two
yeah.
encourage each other and
Yeah.
then like how impactful and proud of you I was to see you go sing because you always, I didn't know necessarily that that was something that you strive for, but I remember that was part of the reason why you liked this boy was because he was, he put himself out there. And you were
Yeah.
like, yeah, it was kind of really cool and this and that. And then you said,
Yeah.
I might want to do some singing maybe. And then to hear that, and then in such a short time, I know it might not have felt like a short time, but it really has been a short space of time to your video last night, maybe night before, about your
Last
yoga.
night.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and I was just giggling. I loved it. I watched the whole thing. Donna was asleep. I had my headphones on. I'm laughing in bed. I'm sure she was getting mad. It was you
Oh,
explaining. You're like, yeah, I even missed yesterday's. I was gonna check in. I missed yesterday's. and you're,
I know.
but
I was like, hilarious. Day one, whatever. I was like, day two, we'll get it. And then the video was so awful and blurry, and I was like,
it,
That's the point. I'm just trying to let go.
and
Doesn't have to be.
perfect is the killer of dreams because it's
Oh,
the easy way out. It really is. It's like, oh well, because perfectionism is
yeah.
just fear materialized. That's all it
Yeah.
is.
Wow. Whoa.
I know. I
Oh,
didn't realize that until it came out of my mouth. That was kind of deep.
that
Okay.
that's a good perfection is fear materialized because
I,
it doesn't exist, right? I mean,
no.
the only perfection that could possibly maybe exist in my mind is like mathematically, like, but even then, I love math, so I could dive deep in there. But
But a lot of that is still theoretical.
yeah, it's not, you know, when we're measuring something to be 4 feet, that's to our measurement device, but really it could be 4.01567 blah 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 blah, and it's like there is no exact, doesn't exist. I wanted to talk to you. I know I'm, but you said I can talk about anything I want. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so I feel like that experience, training with you and the position and all of these things, one of the things that I realized about myself that I wasn't aware of. So it's like I can, I know everyone can get in this, and this is kind of where me and Rosie really connect. Is I know she mentioned how we kind of have similar like dark places, and so we can see it in each other. And one of those is like this like secret self-deprecation. I'm sure everybody goes one place or another, but ours just feels similar. So I was aware of that. What I didn't realize until I think that experience, and also with singing and all this has kind of accumulated, is like I have a secret alpha personality, and I didn't know that about myself. I don't know if you saw that, but I realized like when I'm in scenarios like environments where someone's performing, or like with training, we're all doing the knots together. I like and it's not I don't think it's out of like arrogance or spite towards others. I really don't know what it comes from, but I have this like it's like this secret alpha drive where I
It
have
wasn't that
to.
secret.
Was it not?
Not to me.
Okay, I wondered. And it's like I notice it more, so for example, like singing. Okay, so I sang, well, growing up a lot in choir. I was always in choir from like childhood, like church choir to like middle school, high school, and then I did all the extracurricular choirs in high school. That was like my nerdy thing. And then when I went to college, I did an engineering major and basically wrote myself off as, well, if I'm doing engineering, then I don't have time for anything else, which I made time for a lot of other stuff besides engineering, that's for sure. So that's bullshit. That was almost like that, when it came to really my studies, that was probably the lowest totem pole.
Hmm.
But I still wrote it off that way. And so I didn't do choir or anything in college. And so when I met Nicholas, he really like encouraged me to get into that. And anyway, so like, when I'm watching a performance, and I don't necessarily like this about myself, but sometimes when I'm watching a performance, it's like one side I have this appreciation of what's happening. And then on this other side, it's this deep yearning of, I want to do that. And it's like I see that like no
What?
matter what. Like if I go to a stand-up comedy show, I'll feel the same way. It's like, or I don't know, it's like when there's this kind of like extreme energetic action happening and I see it happening, my initial reaction is like, oh, cool, I want to do that. And you know,
Is that a bad thing?
no, it's not a bad thing.
Is that a dark thing?
No, it's not. I guess
Okay.
I just don't want it to overpower like appreciation, or like what, I think if it gets unbalanced, it's like to what you were saying of listening to respond instead of listening to listen. Like, I try to be really cautious of that. Or like, not, which I don't think I'm caught up in being better than anyone. Um, it's more of like a almost like an individual like
It's a for
race.
you.
Yeah, yeah, it is. But singing, I mean, that experience of singing with him on stages and everything, I mean, it was the most expansive, it, it was one of the most expansive things I could have ever done. And it it really puts fear, like, I mean, tangibly right in front of your face. Like, and I had to like almost every time I would perform, I had to seriously like I just do it anyway. Just do it anyway, no matter how afraid I was. And I learned a lot. It's like I think what I love is in those moments, it's like it's a way, it's like forces you to be in the moment. It like forces you to be so acutely instantaneously in the moment because of just the nature of it, of being in front of everyone, of vulnerably expressing yourself. And it was almost like a high. I was like, it's like this, almost like an adrenaline junkie. Like I've referred to it as like a I'm an adrenaline junkie, but like with I have limits. Like I don't know if I'll
That's
ever
why
say
you're not an addict. It's different.
yeah, yeah, no. Um it's kind of something like that. Um
Well, and I
yeah.
think part of it too is the reason I think I connected so much or I paid attention so much when you said these rules. The fact that you love math, the fact that you're great at engineering and that your brain works at a high level cerebrally, and yet you're still creative and you're still caring and you're still compassionate and you're still, it's, and sometimes, I was speaking with it with Estefania and with Rosie and with everybody. It's, when I say duality, that's like it's a bare
Uh,
minimum because we are
yeah.
more, we're that's the reason why we're whole. It's because we're circular, but like,
Yeah.
so it's not just two sides. It's not just two parts.
Yeah.
And, it is, and what I think I am super, super proud of, and part of the reason why I was so excited to that the timing was right to do it, to reach out to you, was to see your growth of comfortability within all of you. Does that make
Mm,
does that make any
yeah.
sense?
It
Because
does.
I was there when you were uncovering a lot of them, like a
Hmm.
lot of the pieces of you. It almost sounds like I'm talking about a multi-personality, but it really is because everybody's got
Uh,
multi. But
yeah.
that's I got to be there when you were learning to express it or learning to, I don't even know if it was maybe learning, but you were taking more chances and
Yeah.
you were definitely much more open to the opportunity to take chances because it was almost like, I'm not going to poo-poo it, but that seems terrifying.
Yep.
But I'm not going to say no.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
but
Right. That's the thing. It's like I can't say no because I won't allow myself to say no, but I don't even know if I want to do it. With the manager position to that, I, it all really boiled down to, sure, there were other things, but I think the number one thing was being in that position of having to call people out on their shit, being in a role where telling people what to do, and, that can be done, like, artfully in that those types
correct.
of positions, but my existence has always been or being, I'm everybody's friend, and I love that, it's always been that way, loving people for who they are and, like, soaking it up, and that management position, what scared me the most is I had to, um I didn't feel it's like you can be equal with everyone, but when you play that too hard, people won't necessarily respect you and do what needs to get done, and I really struggled with that. I really struggled, not being everybody's best friend, having to be the manager, and when things weren't getting done, say something about it. Um, like every weekly meeting, I was so nervous. I was so nervous. And I'm sure that's normal. And I've thought about, I wonder if I did it again after doing it once, I would feel more comfortable, but that was stretching myself. That was definitely stretching myself.
And what I think is important to remember is like Simon Sinek. Remember I talked about the golden circles, why, what, how kind of thing, and all that stuff. Know your why and all that stuff. Everybody can be a leader. Not everybody should. Every,
Mhm.
everybody can be a parent. Not everybody should. And it's also sometimes a lesson is it's gonna be more beneficial if it doesn't work out successfully. And I have to air quotes that because, you know, or the way
But it
we thought successful would look like.
yeah.
It's something as simple as I've done. Do you guys have True Green Chemlon down there? I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys. Yeah, so I did True Green for a little while. Like I went to all these things. I learned about chemistry, which I'm like practically I like chemistry stuff, but dude, I don't remember the periodic table.
Yeah.
I did it was hard work and I did it I think one full day after months of training and with two of my friends. I did one full day. And I was like,
I'm
nope.
out.
But it was it's one of those things until I tried, I didn't realize a manual labor position is not something I want to do. Can I? Yes. Which is funny. I like
Sure.
coaching CrossFit. That's very manual. It's
That's
so
a lot of
different.
labor.
It's a lot of labor. It's so different.
Yeah.
And a lot of like E.T. the hip hop preacher, I really like too. One of my favorite things he ever said is, "My greatest victories didn't come from my greatest victories. My greatest victories came from my greatest defeats."
Yeah. It's
It's
true.
just like I remember crying several times when I would break up with somebody like a girlfriend and be like, "Hey, why isn't this gonna work?" Like I was with somebody for 5 years, we were engaged, everything. I'm like, why isn't this gonna work? It broke my heart. And then I met Donna, and I went,
That's
okay,
why.
well played, God. Like that's God's sense, and that's why I have realized much more that God and the universe and energy and everything. It really is like long game.
Yes.
And the way I look at God is if He wants the best for me, a lot of times that's not always what I want immediately.
Yep.
Because
This instant gratification culture is it's new, first of all, in the history of man. It's new, and it's so unrealistic to life. And that
it's not
is some
sustainable.
it's not sustainable at all. It's part of this fast-paced, like just supercharged. Nick and I were talking about how supercharged our culture is and how it's so difficult to just chill, to truly chill, to go about our days and like be just in this like perpetual relaxed state. And there's nothing wrong with being blissed out, but it's like I can even I'll even it's like, well, if I'm not experiencing bliss, what's wrong? And it's like, well, you can just be,
Normal.
yeah, yeah. Doesn't mean anything's going wrong. But no, it's like patience really is the virtue, a virtue. I mean, the long game is the game. And that's like this whole pregnancy body, and just this recovery. It's like that's been huge to like reinforce that. Um, it's like if I look outside of myself, it's all of this like, you know, you'll bounce right back and you'll look just, you'll be just like you were before and all this stuff. And it's like, what's my rush? Why do I need to be anything different or like I was, or who's to say I'll ever be that way again? And do I want to be? And, it's, yeah, the instant gratification game is futile. Um, and it's you can just get addicted and then apply it to everything in our lives, when it comes to career or that's another thing that it's like with what you said about engineering and creativity, and it's like I have to, on one hand, growing up, even in middle school, high school, college, I always was upset because when people would say like, what do you want to be, I never had an answer for that. And I felt like this just sounds ridiculous, but I was good at everything. I wasn't superior at one thing. And so I've always kind of been in this state of like, what do I do? What do I do? Anything I try, I'll probably be pretty good at, but it's hard to stay focused on one thing. It's almost like there's so many options and it's like becoming overwhelmed and almost petrified by the options.
Which is
And
true.
so it is. So being patient with myself and how it all unfolds, and like taking it day by day, like this 30-day yoga thing. It's like, there is a voice that exists that could, that I could have listened to, like, it's not that big of a deal, you know? But then there's another voice that's like, no, it is big deal. That this is a commitment that you're making, and it's gonna be life changing, everything, it will can affect us as much as we allow it to. And I
I love that.
I'm trying to take, it's like I want to take everything more serious. And so sharing it, like you said, sharing is powerful, and I really sat with that, because I got in my head, because I was like, I was laying in bed on the 31st of January, and I had known I wanted to do this 30-day thing. And it just kind of like was a daydream that like popped in, like, I kind of want to share this online and like, reflect and kind of create like a documentation of it. And then, it's like, why would people care? It's not that interesting. It's not that cool, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then I was just like, I don't know. It's like I'm doing this for me, and none of that really matters. And at the same time, it's like it does matter. This choice does matter, and like I said, it can impact me as much as I allow it to. And um, even though it's not like a career move or like, or yeah, could it be, right? Who knows?
That's funny.
That is funny. Yeah, it's
How did you say that? A choice can impact me as much as I allow it to?
yeah.
I'm writing it down because it is awesome. And, and that's the thing. Like, I love, first of all, I appreciate your honesty and vulnerability in that, that's one of the things I was like, why would anybody want to do an interview with me? Like, what,
Mm,
what,
yeah.
I mean, now I have 21 subscribers because two of them have been because of talking to Rosie and you. You know what I mean? I'm like, but then when something simple, um, the unintended consequences of amazing decisions,
Ooh.
like the choices, as impactful as I allow them to be. So I was like, I just felt compelled. I was like, I felt driven to, I'm gonna put out content. And for a while it
Yep.
was every day I'm gonna do a YouTube thing, whatever. I don't even know. I don't know how to edit them. I like whatever. I just tried to make sure I didn't wear the same outfit all the time because it was beginning in the middle of COVID. So I'm like, act like I'm trying, like whatever. Um, Jacob knows how many views Rosie's thing has gotten. Jacob's aware, like he's pretty much watched. He was one of my first subscribers. And
No.
when I talked about wanting to be a good dad, and like it was confirmation that I was a good dad. Does that make sense? And
Yeah.
I'm like I love it. I can't
That
if
is
nobody else. It is the most.
warming fuzzies.
It is, and that's why I like. That's when I get it. Then I start going the other way with why did I wait so long, and why did I, choose to
Yeah.
settle for the. And I'm adding to that perfectionism is fear materialized. I'm going to say criticism and perfectionism is fear materialized because it really is. And like Brene Brown, I've been listening to her about vulnerability, and oh my goodness, like she's given me words to, yeah, Brene Brown, dare to lead, vulnerability, like those are like super analytical and everything and all about numbers. And she's like, I'm going to figure out how to measure vulnerability. I'm going to figure because
Wow.
and what she realized is that part of the being vulnerable is it's not 100% accurate, right? It's like there's certain characteristics, but oh man, it was a journey for herself, like, and that's what we're all on. And so why would anybody care? Well, whether people listen or don't listen, that's like saying all the times I've ever spoken to some and been nice to somebody, should I only be nice to people who I know are going to be nice to me back?
Mm,
Or do I, like,
wow.
it becomes existential. And really, I'm
Yeah.
like, I want to, the choices I'm aware of, I want to be as impactful as I can. And the only way I've figured out to do it, this is just me, is to make sure I'm intentional with most of my decisions and be loving with my decisions. Because if I'm loving with my decisions, it might not be pretty, but it's most often going to be received the way I was sent out. And it
Mm,
wasn't, it's not always, but
yeah.
that's not up to me. Like the outcome is really not up to me.
Gosh, that's so good.
Like
Yeah.
if you're up there singing,
You got
of
to do.
course it's going to be amazing if they're like, holy crap, this
Yeah.
is the best. Of course, that's a high, another level of that high.
Yep.
But for you to know you're scared to do something and then
Yes.
say, you know what, I'm gonna do it.
Doing it anyway. Yep.
Whatever, yes, whatever happens after that,
Doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter.
Nope.
And
Yes.
so to me, that's part of the reason why I loved being part of that journey and understanding. I just wanted to make sure, from a selfish standpoint, I wanted to make sure that you tried things because the limitation should be whether you want to continue to do something, not whether you think you're going to be good or bad at something if you've not tried it.
Ooh.
And just like with my friends, the people I love, my kids, everything, like that's not what our society is focused. Our society is very much like you shouldn't try if you're not going to be the best,
Yeah.
which is
How are
why.
you gonna be good at all if you're trying? It's so idiotic. Wow, I really love that. What you said. That's so good. I'm soaking it in. I vulnerability and I've one of the things that like I've been noticing really recently, as in like this week, like is
Timing,
huh?
timing.
Yeah. It's like, I've sang on these stages and I've done all these things, I've conquered all these fears. 2 days ago, Nick was writing a song and he's like, "Yeah, I want your help." I was like, "Okay," keep in mind I haven't performed in gosh, well, actually I did perform once this year, but it's still been a long time and it's not been consistent and I haven't been singing every day just in general at all. I felt so nervous. I felt so nervous to sing with him, to like it took me a while to open up to even like give lyric ideas and all of this stuff and it's like, man, it's ongoing. It's like you can reach this place of I did it and then be right back here and it's like do it all over again. It does not matter. It's hilarious and it's like I asked, I was saying this to him. I was like, why do I feel this way? Why am I afraid? I know you're not going to judge me. I know you don't care. Why am I nervous? And he's like, it doesn't matter why, what if it just doesn't matter why and you just do it anyway? I was like, God, wow, yeah,
Oh, I like him. That was good.
yeah, right. I know. I was like, damn, that's true. Doesn't matter why.
Because
I
because that's
thought,
another way to a perfectionism to an extent. It's also because you're cerebral and very intelligent. Oh, well, I'm going to dissect it. I'm going to figure it out. Like, why am
answer,
I?
the answers are in the analyzing. It's like, no, it's not. Life's
No,
not.
most of them aren't. Most of the answers come from because it's almost like I'm sure at some points before you had what's your daughter's name?
Maven.
Maven. Which is funny because guess what the guy who I went to interview this whole thing started with his gym's name is? Maven.
May. Really?
That's
Wow.
funny. Um, so I'm sure there was times before Maven came out that you had fear or
Oh yeah.
insecurity or, I mean, being a dad, which is not even, like, let's be honest, that's the easy. I have an easy job. Like we did the fun part. and we're like occasionally called in for relief.
Yeah.
And then even then we can kind of, as long as the kid doesn't get bumped or bruised too badly or dented, or even then it's like, dad was watching him, you know what I mean, we get passes.
We get leeway.
Yeah, it's like, oh, his dad, they even say like, oh, are you babysitting? No, it's my kid. Like, I'm not babysitting my own child. It's,
That's all.
I'm watching my kid. I'm being a parent. Yeah,
No, I'm parenting. Yeah.
I'm parenting. Like, that's what I do. um
Oh.
you know what I'm saying? I don't even remember where I was
Yeah.
going because I just made myself laugh.
Yeah. Motherhood,
Oh, yeah,
Maven.
I know you might have been scared, but
Yeah.
it was like when you're scared, when you first saw Maven, or when you first had that, I'm going to be a mom.
Hmm.
Yes, there's some bit of, ooh, well, negative what if, but really it's almost like it's that indescribable,
Hmm.
and
Yes.
that's what's on the other side of fear almost every time.
Love. Yep.
It really is. It's just, it's like,
Every time.
oh,
And that's and it's like vulnerability is the bridge. It's like fear, vulnerability.
holy crap.
Surrender too.
I
Maybe vulnerability and surrender.
Because vulnerability is the bridge to everything I want.
It is.
Because it's,
It is.
vulnerability
It's
is a bridge. Dude, that would be song lyric or a book or something, because that's something, because that is so true. Because
feels
the bridge is such a perfect analogy, because, and I think where regret comes in, for me, where regret comes in is, yes, I'm regretful sometimes when I make bad choices, but the regret I struggle with the most, and most people who I've ever listened to for 30 years, which is what my degrees are in, the regret is when they've not tried or not
yeah.
attempted.
Mm,
Like, disappointment and regret are on such different scales.
wow.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I regret, there's a reason why they say it's better to love and to lost than not to have loved at all. Because that regret of, man, I never tried. When people
Yeah.
are in their deathbed or whatever, they don't wish for, more stuff. They're like, man, I wish
Right.
I would have done that. I wish I would have done that, or
Or,
spent
oh, I
more
wish I
time
would have
doing
got
this.
first place instead of second. Like,
Yeah. They're like, oh, remember in high school when I didn't necessarily know, like when people asked me, when Mrs. Buttholio asked me what I wanted to be, and I didn't know, man, I wish I would have had that answer. No.
Yeah.
And it's, I love, I think what has drawn me to you is that you were, even though you weren't necessarily as immersed in it not as you are now, which is so awesome. And that's part of the reason why I was like, greedy, greedy, greedy. I want to interview. And I don't like saying interview because it almost seems like I have an agenda, and my agenda is just to tell you that you're impactful to me and amazing. And then showcase this, as limited as it is currently, which is on my YouTube channel. And then Rosie, of course, challenged me to be better because I said, well, I'm not very good at technical stuff at editing. And she's like, well, then you need to do that. And I was like, no. And then Donna said that last night, and I was like, would you two stop helping? um,
Helping me.
yeah, gosh. But like, you were dipping your toe in trying stuff. So I found it so powerful, and it made such an impact in a great way on me. As yes, I love Boone Creek itself, it's pretty. Yes, I love ziplining, it's fun. But it's the connections, and it was the
Hmm.
willingness for you and Rosie to open up and share with me. Part of the reason why it's hard for me, like I'm trying to come up with this, how do I promote myself, or how do I what designation do I use to call myself? Am I a life, and really life coach is the closest, but I'm an impact advocate. I guess is kind of what I am. You know what I mean? Like
Love that.
I I just want to share
Hmm.
people with the world and basically help them view themselves to the potential that they have. And I was aware of your potential. And I think that's one of the cool gifts that I'm grateful. That's a big reason I believe in God is because I've always been able to see like, wow, like that she's awesome. Like you, I was just like, she's awesome. And yes, you're awesome. Yes, you're pretty. Your eyes are ridiculous. We've always known that. Like your little southern draw, come on, like bleh. I'm going past the dimples into
Yeah.
the you and
Mhm.
the you willing to test out your humanity in public, and you're showing up to the bridge, right? You showed up, and you showed up publicly. And like I love that you acknowledge it. Like to me, why do people, like if I think of, or if you think of anybody who you think, wow, they're amazing, and you break down why you think they're amazing,
Yeah.
a lot of it is probably going to be because you think it's something that you lack in you, right?
Oh,
We
yeah.
gravitate to like, man,
Yeah.
like Jewel's got a jacked up jaw, like she's got her teeth are not perfect, and she's got this quirky singing voice. Because I'm older and I like love Jewel, she was one of the first people I really loved. But I'm
Yeah.
like, or Johnny Cash, he was not really a handsome man, but I
No.
tell you what, like he sang, and you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
that just happened. Like that's they just put themselves out there. They put themselves out on display.
Yep.
Um, and what I've realized is my whole life, the people who I thought were amazing and impactful were people who allowed people to see them on their bridge.
Yes. Yep.
And being on the vulnerability bridge, it's just that. If if the outcome means if the immediate outcome, like you said, the instant gratification, if the immediacy of the situation is a lifelong indictment of them or a statement of them forever, instead of just a piece of the pie, a piece of the puzzle, a piece of the journey, then yeah, that can be daunting. But you know, what bravery is not a lack of fear. Courage is being afraid, but the ability to act while afraid. Like that's what courage is. You can't have courage if you weren't afraid. Like then it would just be doing, right? It's just like
Right. Yeah, dude.
you
Yeah.
just do it. I'm not scared to pick this up because I'm like, I'm gonna pick it up. I'm just gonna
Right.
do. But you open the lid, you open the top, make it so it's super full, and it's over a computer. Guess what?
You're gonna
Why is
feel
there a
it.
little bit of courage? Because I'm scared. And so what I've done and I've embraced is I've really gotten on my vulnerability bridge. I love that you've pointed that out. That is you created. I'm like squeeze you so bad right now. Is that I'm just like, listen, wherever you are on the journey, whether you're just dipping your toe, like touching the bridge, basically like, oh, he touched the butt. Oh, he touched the butt. Like, oh, he touched it. Like that's, yep. And see what happens. But the people who really speak to my heart and speak to my relationship to God and my gratitude as an action, which is another thing I've been doing, gratitude as an action. Because I'm grateful for you, I'm going to reach out to you. I'm going to make it a point to say, you are important to me. And not just be like, yeah, I think about her often, but I'm not going to send her anything. I'm not going to let her know.
Yeah.
Because that's what's the point of that? Like,
Yeah.
because I'm scared, like, I think I even told you, I like you. I might send you weird emojis because you're cool. Or just randomly be like, hey, I thought of you. I'm sending this out. And I've really realized that your impact on me was without a safety net in the midst of, relationship thing at the beginning, and then also now work thing, and being like, hey, what else, what other stuff can we pile on while we're trying to figure out who I want to choose to be? you know,
Yeah.
you were like still allowing yourself to be on that bridge, and you were allowing people to see it. Now, once again, sometimes it was a little bit more than others, and I like that it's okay to have discernment with who you share your completeness with. Yes, I'm agreeing. That's part of the reason why, if you look at everybody I've interviewed, and I think I've interviewed almost like 50 some people now or something like that. It's crazy. Almost all of them, humility, courage, and love. Like the three things that are super important to me, they all have overloaded. And then to see you and Rose just getting even more into that, and then see you sit there and you talk about where your journey is, because one of the things, reason why I was pushing so hard is you have such potential. And I'm not talking just, yeah, you're going to be, you're going to be okay at whatever you do. You have such potential to impact others like you've impacted me. And the thing is you didn't intentionally go out to try to be like, I'm going to make my trainer change his heart a little bit. You didn't do that, and like same with Rosie, she didn't, it's a byproduct of right living. And that's why I know you're going to be an amazing mom, and you're going to be an amazing partner, an amazing whatever it is you choose, because now I think you're farther along down the scale of, or down the line of, second guessing your choice, because you're more like, you know what, these are these are my roles. Like I have lots of roles now. Okay, and now I'm going to investigate them and see what it is and what that means. And you're also aware that those roles are going to change. The one thing I didn't fully understand until my kids were older was enjoy the phases, enjoy the seasons. Because
Yeah.
in terrible twos, or when you right now, especially being a mom, and I don't know if Maven's teething or not, but I remember when the
Not
kids
yet.
started teething with Donna breastfeeding, I remember going, dude, I am so sorry. And I was like, you know what? I have no problem not being anywhere near your chest for a while, which is a good
Oh
thing
no.
for a man to say to a woman, because I'm like, whoa, I'm so sorry. But it's gratitude isn't liking necessarily. It's gratitude is what I have, not having what I want.
So to this, um, Ram Dass, familiar at all? So look into him, you'll love him. He has passed away, and there's a documentary about him on Netflix. But he was this like, I don't know every detail, but basically like this businessman, who kind of got to this point and was like, I'm not happy. I got all this shit and I'm not happy. Goes to India, studies under a guru, and comes back to America and kind of becomes this figure. Um, and anyway, so there's this quote, and it was basically about seeing the the lives we live as opportunities. Like your life is an opportunity to awaken. And when
That's
you see
awesome.
it like that, that's not saying you're gonna always be happy,
No,
and it's like that gratitude that you're expressing, it's like not coming from, "This made me feel good, so I'm thankful." It's not about that, and if we see our lives as opportunities to awaken, that doesn't come with, like, I feel like in that it says there are gonna be things that suck, but it's for you, um and with Maven and the phases, before I had her, it was like all negative. It was like all this stuff, like either literature online or people I spoke to in person. It's
It's
always like, oh,
terrifying.
yeah, that, those first few months, it's going to be awful. You're not going to get any sleep, blah, 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 blah. I had one person say to me, they're going to grow up and they're not going to be a baby anymore. And so this whole time, I feel that we both have done our best to cherish her right now, even though sometimes it sucks. And she's crying and screaming, and I'm just so tired. It's like still like it's like she's never going to be this small again. And it doesn't really matter what's going on, and cherishing the moments now, because yeah, once it's over, it's like birth. It's like, yeah, it hurt, but once it's over, you don't even think about how much it hurt anymore. It's like that's how life is. It's like something sucks, and then it's over, and then you did it, and it's like pain is temporary. um One of our favorite household quotes that has been swirling about is that pain puts you in the moment. It puts it brings you to the present moment really powerfully, and it's like that's what she does, especially when she's screaming, and it's easy to want it to be over, but wanting it to be over is not going to get her to calm down. um yeah.
So true. I appreciate you taking so much time with me.
I appreciate you taking so much time with me and inviting me and expressing all these good things. I really, this like love boost, I got a love boost from watching the interview with Rosie, and then this one is even more. And I'll say to you, like, before we end, this week I had felt up and down. Well, more last week, I guess, but I had felt kind of like I was on that roller coaster of like, am I crazy? I feel really stressed out. What am I doing? And blah 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 blah. And this yoga and everything has kind of been me getting back on this track of like grounding myself. And I feel like this interaction with you was like this gift from God, kind of like a here you go, it's really special to me. I really, it was like the medicine that I needed, truly. And same with Rosie. Shout out to her. I love her so much.
And it's funny because you saying that is one of those things like that wasn't even my intention. Of course, that's my hope, is that, when I reach out to people that, they take it nicely or take it well. Obviously, it would be a shorter video, I think, if you were like, I'm gonna list all my grievances towards you now. I'd be like, oh shit. Okay, I guess I'm gonna listen. I'm not super, but once again, I love that being awakened, or how'd you say it again? Ooh,
Opportunity to awaken.
wait, say it again.
Your life is the opportunity to awaken, like the perpetual opportunity.
Perpetual. Ooh, look at you and your big brain. Opportunity to awaken. I love that. I've got a whole bunch of stuff. So far, I've got like perfection is fear, and criticism is fear materialized. A choice can impact me as much as I allow it to. Vulnerability is the bridge. Life is a perpetual opportunity to awaken. Look at you. You're like knowledge bombing all over the place. But I think, oh, you know what? So, is there anything else you want to say before I stop recording, and then just stay on for a minute, please, if you would?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Thank you so much again.